Hello, I'm Chris Meney, Director of the Life, Marriage and Family Centre, the Archdiocese of Sydney. It's been said that marriage is likely to be our last and best chance to grow up. But increasing numbers of couples are now choosing to cohabit in preference to marrying. Perhaps none of this should surprise us, given the high rates of divorce in recent times and the various study findings which show that children of divorce marry less and divorce more than children raised in intact families. Divorce appears to have introduced increased apprehension and uncertainty, where once there was greater optimism and a general belief that lifelong commitment was reasonably achievable for almost all couples. Most people know of couples who are cohabiting. A government survey in 2006 revealed that 10% of the Australian population over the age of 18 years are cohabiting, and over 3/4 of couples who marry indicated that they had cohabited beforehand. Cohabitation has increased despite the fact that many studies have concluded that there is a cohabitation effect that generally results in poorer marital outcomes. A recent issue of the Australian journal Threshold summarised many of the social findings in relation to the effects of cohabitation. These findings reveal that the experience of multiple premarital cohabitation partners increases the risk of divorce by 28% when women have two intimate premarital relationships, and is associated also with a reduction over time in esteem for marriage and child-rearing. Premarital cohabitation is also linked with poorer communication in marriage, lower levels of marital satisfaction, and greater marital domestic aggression. Choosing to cohabit also places a person at increased risk for depression and low self-esteem. Perhaps most worrying for women is that premarital cohabitation seems to be associated with lower levels of a husband's dedication to his spouse. In a 2004 Journal of Family Issues study, over 900 respondents were asked to rate their agreement with a series of statements assessing their level of dedication to their spouse. After controlling for religiosity, age and income, the level of a man's dedication was found to be significantly lower in married couples who lived together prior to marriage than in those who did not. The study authors concluded that men who premaritally cohabited with their wives are, on average, a good deal less dedicated to their wives even once they are married. The poorer marital outcomes known as the cohabitation effect are not simply due to the self-selection effects of the pre-existing characteristics of people who cohabit. There seems to be something about cohabitation itself that changes the dispositions and attitudes of people, and that this promotes worse outcomes for them. Despite this body of evidence, many young and not so young people continue to mistakenly believe that cohabitation is a good way to test their relationships. On the face of the most recent evidence, it appears that cohabitation is a con. If someone seriously wishes to enhance their chances of lifelong companionship and happiness, then one of the clearest ways to do so is to avoid cohabiting with someone. Living together appears to erode the requisite motivation and commitment that is essential for a successful marriage. In particular, cohabiting makes you likely to become increasingly couple-focused and less likely to value having and rearing children. This has particular resonances for those many women who are cohabiting in relationships and who think that this is their best way of eventually marrying and having children. Unfortunately, far too many men continue to believe that there is no requirement for any further formal commitment, since those needs they regard as most urgent are already being satisfied. Such men need to realise that they are selling themselves short and letting down their partners very badly. In contrast to cohabitation and premature sexual intimacy, there certainly seems to be value in those genuine physical expressions of affection which come through that growth in friendship and natural bonding associated with the deepening relationships. Perhaps we need to rediscover the wonder and value of things like courtship. There's much to be said for encouraging couples to spend time with one another in a social environment which comprises a range of commonly understood, structured rituals. For too many couples, cohabitation seems to just happen, and they are blissfully unaware of its potential for harm. Cohabitation is a highly ambiguous state of commitment, which means different things to different people, even those members of a couple who live together. We need to construct social frameworks which more clearly signify those levels of commitment that are needed to get marriage and children more firmly on the agenda. Perhaps every dad should tell his daughter that if your relationship with a bloke starts to get serious, make sure he understands he is to ask my permission to court you. This does not mean that daughters are their father's property, but such a statement would send a strong signal about what loving a woman means, from the man who has devoted his life to her while she was growing up, to the man who would need to devote his life to her in the future. If nothing else, it would give young men a reality check about what is potentially at stake. In conclusion, we need to accept that if we are in a serious personal relationship with someone about whom we care a great deal, then we need to truly wish what is good for that other person. That means ensuring that their long-term interests are protected and that they do not become entangled in a cohabiting relationship that can potentially do them great harm. The best chances for a happy life with someone now and in the future are through the mutual promises and public commitment of marriage. Marriage means permanency, commitment, exclusivity, and an openness to the gift of children. It is an unambiguous sign of an unconditional commitment to stay with someone in good times and in bad. It is a fundamental part of God's plan for life and love. If we are prepared to treat this plan with respect and to conform our own life to it, then we will become people who truly know what it means to give and receive unconditional love. We will truly be the person we are called to be.